I'd like to share with you a strategy that I used for several years when I taught high school, and I've used it many, many times here at Aiken. It's called Four Corners. And really the purpose of using four corners in a college classroom or any classroom is twofold. One, it enables students to get out of their desks. They're interacting with their classmates, they're interacting and engaging with you, and they're interacting and engaging with the content that you're presenting. And arguably, most importantly, it allows students an opportunity to take a position, to raise their hand, to kind of stake their claim based upon a question that you are going to present or a scenario that you're going to present. And it also allows our students to recognize the positions and perspectives of their classmates, which I think is always very healthy for perspective taking, perspective respecting, and that notion of difference and tolerance that we can field and build into our respective classrooms. So setting up four corners is really, really simple. Literally all you do is establish in each corner of your room a space. And I used to just laminate, and I've had these for years. I would laminate 8.5 by 11, just pieces of paper. And in one corner I would put absolutely or strongly agree. In one corner, never strongly disagree. So in each respective corner, there is an opinion, an attitude, a perspective. Very, very simple to do. And this needs to be set up prior to students' arrival in the class. So obviously, if they're laminated, you can put them up, you can take them down. They're very, very easy, very transferable to do. But again, in each corner is going to be a perspective or an opinion. So the students walk into the classroom, and you start your lesson or your lecture or your presentation, and you ask a very, very controversial question. The importance of the power of four corners really depends upon the question that you pose to your students, and that question needs to be provocative, probing, murky. It doesn't need to be, who is the 16th president of the United States? Do you agree or disagree that it was Abraham Lincoln? That's not the type of question, obviously. So I've just provided a few sample questions for you to consider. I just thought of these off the top of my head. I've used all of these except malaria in my classrooms before, and they do get students thinking, and that's the whole premise of the four corners, is to get students processing, thinking, articulating, challenging, and also respecting the opinions and the perspectives of others. But it solely depends upon the question that you pick for your students to wrestle with. So after you have posed the question, the four corners are established, you ask your students to, based upon the question that I just posed, go choose your side or find your corner. So the students will literally get up and walk to their respective corners. Once they're in their corners, ask them to talk amongst their kind of corner colleagues why they chose the perspective that they did, and set a real clear time limit to this. I usually gave no more than 2 minutes. So once again, students are collaborating, they're fostering, they're talking, they're articulating, they're learning from each other. After that 2 minutes, ask for a member of each respective group to kind of sum up or articulate the position of that individual corner. And again, no more than 20 seconds, 30 seconds, just a brief summary of why the folks in the strongly disagree corner strongly disagree. Then have students go back to their seats. I have seen the four corners end here. And I always extended my four corners a little bit longer than just that initial, here's the question, go to your corner, what perspective do you take? We're going to share out, and then we're going to go back, and I'm going to start the real lesson. I extended it a little bit. So after the initial four corners activity, I would ask my students to go back into their seats, and then I would start with my content. Then my content would center around the question that I had my students wrestle with. And here's the really fun part of four corners is once your content is done, the lesson is done, centered around the question that you posed, then I would play four corners again. I would ask my students, okay, based upon the information that we just talked about, the discussions, all the strategies that I use to kind of tease out that content, which is aligned directly with the question that I initially posed, I ask my students to go find their corners. And what you will find is that some students change their perspective. They change their corners. Some students are resolute. It's always going to be one corner and it will never change. And that's okay as well. But the really interesting part is that students will say, I thought this way, but after the discussion and the presentation that you did and hearing the different sides and articulations from my students, my fellow students, I have decided that I might think differently. These are the really, really rich moments. And students articulate difference. And why did they change sides? Or why, based upon the information that you presented, are they still resolute in the perspective and the opinion that you gave? And I allow no more than 3-4 minutes for this. This really isn't a full discussion, but it is an opportunity for students once again to claim their opinion, to claim their perspective based upon not just the initial blush of the question, but the content and the context that you surrounded that question in or with during your formal lesson. And then as well, having students articulate either why they continue to believe this way or why they may have changed their perspectives. This is a rich, wonderful, simple exercise and an opportunity for students to, again, take sides, stake their claim, but also wrestle with difference, wrestle with opinion taking, wrestle with this notion of absolutes. Maybe there's some kind of murky middle, and very, very simple and very easy to manage. Again, I've done this for years, and it's very quick, it's very manageable, it's very easy to control, but it is a wonderful opportunity for your students to get out of their desks so they're actively engaged, for them to take their stand, to listen to the stand and perspectives of others, to now hear additional content and context in which they may not have been familiar with, and then again at the end of the lesson to go back and either revisit where they originally found their corner, or to find another corner based upon the perspectives that you might have presented or the perspectives of their students. So very, very simple, very easy to do, and very, very effective. And here are just 2 quick resources that I provided for you to gain a little bit more understanding of possibly the purpose and the procedures centered around 4 corners. I encourage you to try. This is transferable for any of the contents that we all teach. It's simple, it's manageable, it's powerful, it's engaging, it allows students to get up and out of their desks, it facilitates rich, deep conversations that provide opportunities for our students to learn, to grow, to become, to change, and also to understand the content, the question that you are addressing in a more concerted, deep, structured, meaningful way.